55-year-old Rena Sterling is behind bars after kidnapping her niece's 1-year-old boy and stalking and harassing workers and the children at a daycare centre. The abduction occurred at around 6:30 p.m. on the 7th of July 2022, when officers were called to a home on Packerland Drive in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The family said their aunt, Rena Sterling, came over. The parents said they went inside for a couple of minutes to get a leaf blower, and Rena and their 1-year-old son, who was only wearing a diaper at the time, were gone when they came back out. The parents searched the neighbourhood and then called the police. They said their aunt has mental issues, but they wanted to press charges. The authorities searched parks, attractions, businesses and streets. Following a tip, an officer reportedly found Rena sitting on a lawn chair with the baby on the front lawn of the house on the city's near east side. The police officer said that Rena didn't seem coherent. She said she was asked to babysit the child and didn't do anything wrong. She also said she took the baby because she thought there was drugs in the house and wanted to get him checked out at the St. Vincent's Hospital, but she was taking a break with the baby first. She also said she got a ride from a nice man who dropped them off in the area. It was Rena's second run-in with police that day. Several hours earlier that day, the authorities were called to a daycare centre on reports of a suspicious woman calling to children through the gate. During the incident, daycare workers steered the kids away from the fence as she pointed at the children and sang, "No one likes you, no one's your friend." She told a worker, "I'm a watchdog and I've been watching all of you. I watch this place day and night." When a worker told Rena she wasn't welcome on the property, she replied, "Watch the news." The woman was then seen going next door to the Ashview Terrace apartment complex, located at 1008 Willard Drive in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where she lived at Unit 10, and officers identified the woman as Rena. Officers learnt there were at least 4 incidents at the daycare centre over the last few weeks where Rena tried luring children to the fence. One time she approached them with balloons, another time she handed out money, prompting a worker to bring the children inside, lock the door, and made the kids wash their hands with soap and water. Another worker told officers that Rena followed her and her son while they left the centre. Rena kept asking questions as she followed closer and closer. The worker described the incident as uncomfortable and terrifying. Rena is held at the Brown County Jail, and she's charged with abduction, stalking and disorderly conduct. If convicted, she faces at least 18 years in prison. 23-year-old Jasenia Miron is behind bars after allegedly posing as a nurse and attempting to kidnap a newborn baby. The incident occurred at 10:30 a.m. on the 14th of July 2022, when Jasenia walked into the Riverside University Health System Medical Center in Moreno Valley, California, allegedly posing as a newly hired nurse. She was able to gain access to a medical unit where newborn infants were present. She then entered a patient's room and identified herself as a nurse. While inside the patient's room, she attempted to take their newborn infant. The suspect was confronted by hospital staff, who then notified security. Jasenia then left the hospital before security or police arrived. During the course of the investigation, detectives identified the suspect as Jasenia and obtained a search warrant of the home, located in the 11,000 block of Weber Street in Moreno Valley, California. The authorities said they found additional items of evidentiary value at her home, but did not specify what the items were, and she was arrested. Jasenia was charged with attempted kidnapping and is being held at the Robert Presley Detention Center on a $1 million bond. On the 12th of July 2022, 64-year-old Michael Osach was indicted on charges of murder, attempted murder and assault. The incident occurred at just before 5 p.m. on the 8th of May 2022, when Michael attacked his 91-year-old mother inside the Bristol Road home in Hamburg, New York. His mother proceeded to run out of the house and call out for help. She suffered various serious injuries, including a laceration to her head and a fractured skull. When Michael's sister, 72-year-old Christine Osach, saw her mother bleeding, she went inside the house to get a towel when she was attacked by her brother. After suffering a fractured skull, a cut to the head and a brain bleed, Christine died at the Erie County Medical Center on the 23rd of May. An autopsy determined that Christine died from blunt force trauma to the head, and her death was ruled a homicide. Michael was later evaluated and deemed to be competent to stand trial. The motive of the attack is unknown. He's held at the Erie County Jail without bail. 4 of the 7 youths captured on CCTV on last month's fatal traffic cone attack on 73-year-old James Lambert Jr. in Pennsylvania have come forward. The attack occurred at 2:38 a.m. on the 24th of June on the 2100 block of Cecil B. Moore Avenue in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In the footage, a group of youths can be seen following James, who is blurred across the street. One of the teens is captured hurling a traffic cone at James. A girl is then seen picking up the traffic cone and repeatedly throwing it at the victim. Another suspect appears to be filming the assault on a cell phone. The Philadelphia police said the suspects allegedly struck the victim several times with objects, knocking the victim to the ground, causing injuries to his head. James was transported to a nearby hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries the following day. The medical examiner determined that James died from blunt force trauma. A 13 and 14-year-old girl surrendered to police on the 13th of July for their alleged involvement in the attack. The 14-year-old girl was identified as Gamara Mosley, and she was charged with third-degree murder and criminal conspiracy, whereas the 13-year-old girl was released. On the 11th of July, a 14-year-old boy and his 10-year-old brother also turned themselves into police for their alleged participation in the incident. The 14-year-old boy, identified as Richard Jones, has been charged with third-degree murder and criminal conspiracy, and is held at a detention centre on a $750,000 bond. Richard and Gamara have been charged as adults